Christmas brought so much joy, couldn't wait for the presents and laughter. I couldn't sleep late at night, looking for Santa with lights. Those are the memories I still remember. Then I became a man, lost sight of who I am, but right in front of me was the answer. 'Cause on Christmas I feel joy, and I turn back to a boy. The answer is to stay young forever. This is not a Christmas, this is not a Christmas song, this is not a Christmas, this is not a Christmas song, this is not a Christmas, this is not a Christmas song, this is not a Christmas, this is not a Christmas song. Ho, ho, ho.
Hello, Star Wars fans. You know there's just 227 days until Christmas 2023. Hey, I hope you all are having a wonderful day. It's Friday. How about that? It's Friday, and for many of you, the workday is complete. I've got my friends Jason Ward and Star Wars Meg with me. Meg, it's already the weekend for you.
It is.
It is. Any big plans? Lots of fun happening this weekend?
Yeah, well, there's the Women's Vitality Cup final at Wembley.
Ooh.
And my team, Chelsea, is playing Manchester United, so we're going to go to Wembley tomorrow.
Fantastic. You're going to go ahead and get married while you're out?
Don't have plans to just yet, but congratulations to your daughter.
Yeah.
I'd say that because, yeah, my daughter's getting married tomorrow. Our oldest daughter, Shay, is getting married tomorrow. So I'm just joking. We were talking about it right before we came on stream. So I thought I would see if Meg's ready to make her girlfriend an honest woman yet, but not yet.
Not yet.
Not yet. Very good. Jason, yeah, soon?
Hopefully.
Yeah. Oh, that'd be great. That'd be great. I'd be very excited for you. Jason, any plans for the weekend?
No, I'm not doing anything. No one can make me do anything.
You're not getting married either?
Not getting married. I'm playing Jedi Survivor, and nobody could bother me. That's my plans.
Mm-hmm. Fantastic.
Best plans.
Mm-hmm.
It's good. Well, we have a lot of Star Wars news. It's been an interesting week, and finally this Empire magazine article released. And Meg, you said you picked up a hard copy of it yesterday. Is that right?
I do, got it right here on my desk.
Awesome. So, where do you want to start?
So I think the first one of the article is it Ahsoka or is it? Yeah, it's Ahsoka. It's the three women: Mary Elizabeth Winstead, Rosario Dawson, and Natasha Liu Bordizzo.
Very good. Well, and from that article, you want to give us the TLDR? I know
the TLDR is that Natasha worked really hard to be as physically in shape as possible. She did so much sword fighting that it tries to combine Mandalorian darksaber stuff from Rebels and samurai style, which is what inspired Star Wars to begin with. She also thinks that the Loth cat, which is Sabine Wren's pet, is cuter than Baby Yoda, than Grogu.
I saw that, and there's a couple of interesting things. So for anybody that doesn't know, if you're watching and you haven't watched Rebels, first, shame on you, right? That's first. Secondly, go watch it this weekend. You got nothing else going on. You're not getting married. Go watch Rebels. There you go. If you're getting married, then you can watch Rebels next weekend. But this weekend, if you're not getting married, go watch Rebels. And then, what are you doing, Jason?
Nothing. What?
In Rebels, Sabine Wren, who is a Mandalorian, she wields the darksaber for a little while. So that darksaber that you all saw in The Mandalorian, Sabine Wren used to have it, and we're going to see Sabine Wren in Ahsoka live action. It'll be first time for many people, many Star Wars fans, and they'll be like, well, "Who's this chick? And why she got a lightsaber? Isn't she a Mandalorian? Why does she have a lightsaber?" Well, it's because she stole it. No, I kid. She got it from Ezra. So,
I bet you they will like deal with that when we have her being emo in the room that we see in the trailer. Which Miss my little Ezra. She's probably gonna like look at the lightsaber. They'll probably do callbacks in the.
It's funny.
Did you guys see what dropped like an hour ago by Star Wars Newsnet? It's Freddie Prinze Jr. He basically says he's done with Kanan. And it's really interesting because this is the second time this week he's caused a bit of a stir in the fandom. Because if you remember, he made those comments swearing at Star Wars fans. And then now he was like, fan fictions are dumb and you shouldn't make fan films. And then now he's like, I'm done with Kanan. So an interesting development.
I think he might have thrown a little bit of a hissy fit when he wasn't included in the Rebels reunion in live action. I mean, when you just look at it, he's dead. Right, but they could do flashbacks. They could
sure.
I mean, I'm honestly, if Freddie Prinze Jr. played Kanan, it would look dumb. He doesn't look like the character at all. They don't look the same. But also, like he said, that Dave Filoni directed Rogue One, like just insane, random, weird, dumb stuff to say. Yeah, you know what I mean. It's like, what? Yeah. I don't know what's going on there. But
he does not mind poking the bear. That is the Star Wars fandom. He has no problem at all doing that. He does it on a regular basis.
But poking the bear and just being like, Dave Filoni directed parts of Rogue One, that's not true. I mean,
it's not true.
That's true. That's not poking the bear. That's just being a maniac. That's just weird. I can't get my head around that one. You know, that was just bizarre.
That was
bizarre
crazy
behavior.
That was crazy. Yeah. He is. So again, folks, we're talking like we all know what we're talking about. But some of you don't know. So in Rebels, there was a Jedi who trained Ezra Bridger. Ezra Bridger was just some young kid who happened to have the Force.
Young buck.
Yeah, he was a young Aladdin running around in the streets, stealing fruit, hiding, singing songs. I don't know, whatever. So
whole
he was
world, whole new world.
Yeah, right. One step ahead of the red line, right? Like that kind of thing. I don't know. Anyway, Ezra was, and I say that because if you go back, Will Morgan is in the chat here. Go catch Meta Egg's story he did on it. He did a great video on it, and he kept tying in that song in his coverage. Will's sense of humor and his timing delivery is brilliant. It's absolutely brilliant. So, but anyway, so in Rebels, Ezra Bridger, young Aladdin, he has a Jedi Master. He trains under. That is called Kanan Jarrus. Kanan was voiced by Freddie Prinze Jr.
And he has a brother named Abel? No. Okay, that's a different thing. Sorry. I'm sorry.
His dad was famous, wasn't he?
Freddie Prinze Sr. Yeah.
He was yeah, he was famous.
Yeah.
So in any event, during Rebels, spoiler warning, because if you're listening to this and you're like, I don't know what Santa's talking about, well, here's a spoiler. Kanan dies.
He tries to do a baby Yoda. He does a little baby Yoda thing. He's like, I can do what baby Yoda does, and then he can't because he's Freddie Prinze Jr.
He didn't hold back the fire. Put it that way.
He held it back, but then he got cooked.
But you know, Santa, today's a very good day. And I'm sure Will Morgan will approve of this. But I've found my hope again in Star Wars.
Oh, fantastic.
Well, I'm glad I could restore it for you, Meg. Was it when you saw my face this morning? Was it that?
Oh, definitely.
No, I was going to make another bad joke.
This is going to sound...
What brought the Christmas Star Wars spirit back to Meg today?
This is going to sound dumb, and I know it's part of marketing, but this issue of Empire,
it's great.
I kind of got a better understanding, especially for the Acolytes, of what they're going for. And it kind of just got, the wheels of my head turning. And I thought, I think this could be really great. I know people don't like Leslie Headland, but as a Star Wars story,
people do like Leslie Headland. Just some couple of weirdos don't like Leslie Headland, and then they say things like she was Weinstein's assistant, therefore she supplied him with the women to abuse. And it's just like everybody was working under Weinstein in Hollywood, you weirdos. So let's absolve her of that stupidity.
Well, and
I think people are taking her words out of context.
Well,
I've probably seen the queer coded thing going around. People saying that the characters are queer coded. I think she just means she's bringing a non-straight side to Star Wars, but that in no way takes away from the story.
So let's.
I don't literally. I think people are jumping the gun, thinking it's just completely gonna. You know what I mean?
I know exactly what you're talking about, and I don't want to rush to that story because we didn't yet finish the one on Sabine in Ahsoka, because in Rebels, Sabine wields the darksaber and she gets trained by Kanan Jarrus, right? So she is somewhat proficient using the darksaber. Far more proficient
Mary Sue. Where'd she get this power?
Interesting thing from that. But anyway, she wields it much better than Din Djarin ever did. And she took some lessons with Kanan Jarrus, the Jedi, on using the darksaber. And it very closely mirrors, if you watch that training montage with Kanan and Sabine, and then watch The Force Awakens with Rey and Kylo, there's a lot of similarity between those two. And we could get into that at some point, but neither to go here nor there. You mentioned that she talked about all the saber training she did. Well, first she's got to get up to speed with Sabine from Rebels, and Sabine wielded the darksaber. She gave it to Bo-Katan, and then Ezra ends up with Ezra's lightsaber. Go watch Rebels, folks. Go watch it.
Can you give us a midi-chlorian count? What's everybody's midi-chlorian levels?
You know what though, Santa, with this Ahsoka article, just to go back to Ahsoka itself, I think I'm really excited for it because I don't think I care where the story goes. I just have confidence it's going to be coherent because it's all Dave Filoni's story.
I think so too. I have a couple of concerns, and you know what they are. I have a couple of concerns, but I am really excited for Ahsoka. And other than the things that I'm a little bit worried about, and I wouldn't say they're major like red flags for me, I do have a couple of
what are they?
Things I'm concerned about. It's Thrawn. Mainly Thrawn. And there's a couple things about that. One is, I don't think Thrawn is going to be in all 8 episodes of Ahsoka. That's A.
No,
right?
I mean, we don't really know, but we think the back 4, probably for sure.
Yeah.
But the first 4, probably not. And Ezra as well, I would think.
And Darth Malik, I get you. It took me a long time to get through season 1 of Rebels because I hated it so much. It was terrible. It was almost unwatchable for me. By the end of season 1, I was like, okay, I'm starting to. Season 2, it picked up a lot, and then by 3 and 4, I'm totally in. So in season 2, even I started converting to a Rebels fan. Season 3 and 4 was really strong on. So give it a chance. Trust me. I know.
Santa,
I know where you're coming
did you
from.
find that when you're finished with season 4, you can go back and see season 1 in a much better light?
Yes, but I still don't like it.
I really like the episode Empire Day.
Do you? Oh, yeah, it's pretty good because
It tells us about Ezra's, parents, and it sets up his struggle, I think.
It really does.
Because he's got this internal conflict of being born on what is the most horrible day of the galactic history. So
yeah, I really get hung up on the Aladdin episodes. I have a hard time with that, and I also don't like when he first comes on. And he and Zeb end up doing a bunch of nonsense that I hate. I'm like, quit that nonsense. It's just dumb. I disliked it a lot, but Empire Day is really good. It is really good.
And you know what, Santa? There are 2 Star Wars themes that have me in goosebumps, in tears, every time. That's the finale of The Empire Strikes Back, the Rebel Fleet, and then the finale music by the Kiner brothers for Rebels.
Oh, it's so
when
good.
Sabine's like, Ezra's out there somewhere, and it's time to bring him home.
It's really good. Oh my goodness!
You know, you just made me think of like when in 2002 and before, I was in the beta for Star Wars Galaxies, and the servers didn't work, and that song would just play on a loop. The end of The Empire Strikes Back, when you were like trying to like get into the game, and I was really excited for it. And then the game comes out, and they still use that song, and that kind of ruined the song for me. And I used to be the same thing. That was like my favorite track.
It's really good.
But that's where that's like a good example. I'm sorry to go on a tangent, but it's like a good example of like why you don't use like the music from the film specifically. They should always remake it. Like in my opinion, for that reason alone, when they put it like in that game, I hear Galaxies and I think of like, oh, nothing works. That's how I feel inside when I hear it now.
So Sabine, look, Natasha had a lot of training to do because she needs to be able to competently wield the lightsaber. And Jason mentioned something before about her being kind of emo. There was somebody picked up on the trailer right after it first came out, and now I can't unsee it. Is she's not wearing any of her Mando gear? She's just like in civvies. She doesn't have her painted armor on, any of that kind of stuff. I'm like, wait, there's a point to be made there. Why is she wearing civvies? Because we've never seen her just dressing like a common person. And there's a storyline out there that she's kind of turned away from all of it. She's kind of given up. She's like dejected.
Do you know what it is though? It's like it's between the Rebels ending and then when they go find Ezra.
Yeah.
So we're going to see that evolution because the exclusive footage at Celebration shows her with her full Mando gear against the mural, and that's not taken place yet. So
right.
I just think she's chilling on Lothal.
She does not have her pauldron on Jedi Mike in that shot. She doesn't have that on at all. She's just.
I would also imagine when she painted that she wasn't wearing the armor. That would be a bit ridiculous, wouldn't it? My art is war, and she puts it on and starts painting. You know what I'm saying? Like I don't. So the question I kind of have is, does she paint that in the show? Like in the Ahsoka series, like, do we get like a moment where we see her like sort of doing this, and then her and Ahsoka reconvene, and then we see her with the armor looking at the work before they go again? Like I'm curious if we see something like that. Yeah. There's room for subtleties in that moment of the narrative, but I don't know if Filoni's gonna put something like that in Star Wars.
Well, like Meg said, I am excited because this is all coming from Filoni. We know he can tell great stories. We've seen it, both in Rebels and in The Mandalorian. We've seen him do a really good job. I know he's working with Jon Favreau. Jon Favreau was the lead in The Mandalorian, but we've seen Dave Filoni do some great stuff, and we know that this series has been in his head for some time. And for him to be able to materialize it, I'm very excited for it. I am very, very excited for it. Like I mentioned, I'm a little bit concerned about what they're going to do with Thrawn, only because I've been re-listening to Thrawn again, and he is not a Moriarty. He's not, and I'm worried because Dave.
Well, in the books, he's not. In the books you're reading, he's not.
That's what I'm saying.
That's
that's what I'm saying. So,
but archetypically, that's what he is.
Jason's right.
I'm just saying. I don't have a dog in the fight. I'm just saying though, like that's these other books. That's why you guys keep talking about these books, and I hope everyone's happy when it's all said and done. I have a feeling those books and the show and the cartoon. I am hesitant these things will all feel like the same person.
You're coming through my drive-thru, you're getting 4 French fries. That's it, Jason.
That's fair.
Just 4.
Don't get me Indiana. I very much disagree with Jason.
Yeah.
I disagree with Jason. I think it's all the same wrong. because
Okay.
I've been rereading the Heir to the Empire comics, and I love those adaptations
Mm-hmm.
because you get to see some of the worlds visually, and I think Thrawn does feel like a bit of a villain compared to the newer ones, the Ascendancy books. So, but it's all the same guy. It's like he's got different sides to him. He presents
Well,
himself in different ways.
I
His
thought
his motives can be the same. Like think of like real life leaders and politicians and things.
yeah.
Sometimes they take turns and like twists and turns and maybe go against their word. Still same person.
Well, we'll see. Like on that front right there, in terms of like the George Lucas style of villain building. Like I know Santa's not a big fan of. Santa likes more of when we're in the space opera black and white side of things
I do.
more than
Yeah.
not. I would say.
Yeah.
But somebody like Thrawn like Anakin can start off on a path towards evil for the right reasons, it seems like to them, and then by the time they get to the end of it, they're corrupt. They went down the wrong path to get that means to an end kind of situation. So that could be Thrawn. But whenever I listened to the book, I listened to one of the audiobooks. I didn't really like it. I read Heir to the Empire growing up, and I watched Star Wars Rebels. And I don't feel like the Star Wars Rebels Thrawn and the book Thrawn, they don't feel like the same thing to me.
But Zahn said they are. All right. Like that's interesting.
Yeah, I mean, George Lucas said all 6 Star Wars movies were the same, and you say they're not. So It's like the creators think one thing, and but I don't feel like tonally those things sit together. And I don't think that's like a bad thing. I'm not saying it's broken or anything like that, but it's just like when you have a character who's multidimensional or can be. Mm-hmm. What are they going to do in live action? How much? Because like from what we've heard, we might not know anything. We might not know everything or anything at all. But from what we've heard, it seems like he's this guy. And then we see like all of these things coming together for him. But we don't really get the machinations of how they came together, just that they are. And that might effectively sell Thrawn to us, though, in that season. But the problem, I think, would come down the road. Because down the road, you still got to prove it.
Right.
Jason, can I put forward a statement?
Yeah,
and then you disagree or agree with it?
Okay.
I found, having read the books after watching Rebels.
Yeah.
I haven't read all the canon ones. I've read the original Zahn trilogy.
Yeah.
And I've seen like bits and bobs from what Santa's talked about with the more recent ones. Do you think that Rebels exposed Thrawn's weaknesses as a person?
Cool.
See I think what ends up happening for me with Thrawn in Rebels is that he is being placed into a genre of sort of I don't want to say Disney XD is a genre, but it kind of is. It has a flavor to it, and it's like Star Wars with that flavor. And so it's like, he's more like at one part, like he kind of like goes to do like Kung Fu, but then he's just like, oh, you kids, like he just seems, it doesn't really feel like the character's intellect. It feels like there's a low ceiling on his intellect in the show. Yeah, because in reality, in terms of the reality of the show, if that character from the books came in there, he would wipe the whole thing out in a minute. Like it's because it comes off a bit silly.
Couple of things about Thrawn, and to answer a question that you didn't ask me, but I'm going to answer it anyway. I'm good. So first, Mumbo Jumbo said, which Thrawn book? I'm listening to Thrawn from 2017, rereading it. I've got it on audio and on Kindle, and I'm rereading it and listening to it. And just for the sake of the audience, those books happen concurrently with Rebels, or they're adjacent to Rebels, leading up to it.
Oh, Jason.
So, so there's that. Secondly, I saw the other comment saying that Zahn said the new books are from his perspective, so he sees himself as the hero. I'll say that's true too. But the best comment I heard about this was that if you were not on Thrawn's side, of course he's a villain, right? He is serving the Empire. He's serving Palpatine for his own reasons, and so his objective is to say, take over a planet, whatever that might be. So he's going to do that. If you happen to be somebody that doesn't want to be taken over, that's not going to go well for you. So I could see, I do get the from his perspective and not from his perspective side of it. And I'll say the weakness of Thrawn that's illustrated throughout the novels, especially the newer novels, is that he is politically completely inept. He has no perspective whatsoever, like somebody setting him up for political fall or to look politically foolish. And that happens to him. He's
So he has military strategy, but no political prowess kind of
exactly
issue? Okay.
100%, right? So he can't see, like, the military strategy of him is so black and white. He's like, but this is the right way to go. But if that right way to go violates the political mood of the day, for example, the Chiss have this rule. They're not allowed to attack first. Right? You can't attack first. You have to wait to be attacked. Well, sometimes he's like, well, that's dumb, right? Like, if we wait to be attacked, we're going to lose lives. It's not going to go well, blah, blah, blah. So they put him in these situations where they know that he is likely to attack first, which is going to politically put him in a bad spot. So he goes, he does it, he ends up in a bad spot. It happens. So that happens all the time. So his weakness exposed, I really didn't see that in Rebels. Not like I do in the novels. And I don't know that we will see it here either.
Well, see that's where, okay, like, so I got two things to say real quick. Like in Rebels, I think he was a weird choice to bring in, because if his thing is strategy and stuff like that, these are just rebels running around. So it's kind of like oh, you kids, because it's not like their armies are meeting on the battlefield all the time in most episodes. So that's where I found it to be a weird choice. But then the other thing that I found interesting is in the quotes from the Empire magazine, he talks about Thrawn. Filoni talks about Thrawn, and he says, like, you have this urge to want to remake Darth Vader or something like that because it's so iconic. But with Thrawn's different. He's just like a guy, a blue guy, but a guy, and he doesn't have the big cape and the lightsaber and all of that stuff. But then what I find funny is, what did Filoni do in response to that? When it gave him 2 Jedis, a witch, and Destro. It's like, so it's kind of strange. And I'm like, is that, so why would you do that if what you're saying is effective as a character and as a villain? Because now you've gone and you've actually, like, literally adorned him with all of that stuff. So I don't know if it's really smart or if it's actually a problem in the narrative.
Yeah.
Because it could be either. It really could. I don't think it matters in the first season for where the story's going, though. So I think it's
perfect.
Fine.
Perfect. So I don't want to dwell on it too much. We've already talked about too much. There's a lot of other things to discuss.
Moving on.
Meg already brought up some of it. Those are my only concerns. And as you said, we're only likely to see Thrawn in the second half of the series, the last 4. And in those last 4, I don't expect him to be like in every scene. So calm down. I'll wait and see how it goes. And I'm excited for it. I have to say, overwhelmingly excited for it. And we'll see what happens.
If he's in all 8 episodes, Santa has agreed to paint himself blue and do the show as a Chiss for a week. He said that,
which would be a lot of fun with my blue screen in the background. All you'd see is these red eyes, like.
Also, I just want to say, a few months ago, I said something which some people just kind of shrugged off as like stupid, but then Dave Filoni addressed it, and I kind of felt smart. Basically, he said that casual fans might confuse Thrawn with Cad Bane.
Funny.
So they went out of their way to make Thrawn a different shade of blue.
Oh, yeah. Well, and what's funny is in the books, they keep confusing for a Pantoran. Like, all the time. They're like, what are you, some kind of Pantoran? Yeah. And they're like, no.
I was never a big fan of Pantorans and the Chiss. Like, it's make them the same thing. You know what I mean? Like, that's where I come from on that one. I was like, come on.
You don't like Baron Papanoida?
No, I do. I just think that, like, you know, it's the same basic Star Trek-y concept. So just unite them, make it, on from the same planet and make them two different cultures or something like that. That way, the one's a little bit different skin tone. One could have the paint, the other ones don't. But it's the same concept. So I don't like it being a twofer. It's the same. It's just.
I think Darth Malik is right. I just saw their comment. Mm-hmm. Casual fans don't even know Cad Bane since most of them didn't watch Clone Wars but saw Book of Boba. Mm-hmm. Don't underestimate how many people watch Book of Boba Fett. I've seen that show being talked about IRL more than most other shows to do with Star Wars. I was at the cinema and someone saw my Star Wars t-shirt of Fennec Shand and struck up a conversation about Book of Boba Fett. And I know some people who saw Boba but not Kenobi or Mando 3.
Yeah. Very good. Very good. So, Meg, you brought up the Acolyte. And yes, there's some very exciting stuff coming for, I think, Leslie Headland's project. We've mentioned before how she is a huge Star Wars nerd. She is a sweaty when it comes to Star Wars, the EU, and all of that. But she said some things on the political side of things that people, or the social political side of things that people don't like. And there's been, in this fandom, there's a huge divide among people who are hypersensitive to political issues and how those are expressed in the story. Above all, everybody wants everybody. I don't care which shade of blue you are, right? See what I did there? I don't care what group you come from. Everybody wants a really good story above anything else.
As long as it's full of sexy white men like me, yeah. Now we're talking.
And remember, guys, Disney cares about one color, green.
That's true. That's absolutely true.
Baby Yoda?
Exactly. Grogu. Well, Grogu and money have become synonymous for them, so.
It's the same thing. Yeah. But maybe that loft cat will end up being money for them as well. But that's going backwards. We want to go forward. So Leslie Headland has said some things. Now, certain parts of the fandom are really down on Acolyte because they fear that the messaging will come ahead of the story. And I don't share that concern for two reasons. One is I realize Hollywood is Hollywood. Movie studios are movie studios. They're all left of me, and all of their messaging is left when I watch it. And I'm just like, I just have to shrug it off and be like, there we go again. But that's me. What I think is Leslie cares about Star Wars. Leslie loves Star Wars, and she wants to tell a compelling Star Wars story, and that she has these other social political things that she's weaving into it. As long as the story is good and the storytelling is compelling, then I'm excited.
That's excited. Well, and what they did, what I think they did, what it sounds like they did to make sure that everything was within like reason. And when I say reason, I mean because Star Wars isn't about one group or one type of person or one nationality or anything like that. They put it together a writer's room. And that writer's room is full of people from all walks of life, which means if we're going to tell a story about a lesbian teenage girl on Tatooine, well, the Chinese writer who's a 40-year-old male needs to be able to read that and still see the human story in it. Or he's just like, so that's why they put together a diverse and interesting writer's room. That wasn't just Leslie Headland and her 7 best lesbian friends from San Francisco. They didn't do that, but the people that are complaining about it went and said, oh, they hired people who weren't Star Wars fans. And it's like, you morons, that's exactly the point, because that means that the human story is good. Because when you don't have a human story, you get, I rule with respect, and that's my story. When the human story is good, you have a boy and his adoptive father and their relationship coming together. That's the human story. And that's what anybody, no matter what, a good writer can identify it. A good Star Wars fan, not necessarily. Just being a good Star Wars fan isn't a prerequisite to write good Star Wars.
You're absolutely right, Jason. And this is why I like Tony Gilroy.
Yes.
That's what I say too.
He basically said, I wasn't in this to tell a real world message. I think people took one quote from Fiona Shaw and they were like, oh, it's anti-Trump or whatever. I don't think he cared about that. He said, I wanted to tell a human story that draws from like 17 different conflicts in our history and marginalization, various things, put a Star Wars spin on them. And that's why I thought the characters of Cintra and Vel was the best queer representation we've had in Star Wars, because they represented them like actual people in the real world. I have a problem with Hollywood, even you might corner me in that side of politics, but my problem with Hollywood's portrayal of stuff like that is it's always so cringe, so exaggerated, and detracts from the story. But for the Acolyte, I feel like it's hopefully going to be like Andor and just be another part of it, a human side to it, without being like, oh, look at, making it the primary thing.
With Andor, if you had made Cinta a man, it would have been the same relationship with the same heart at its core. And if it's not, so that's why it works and it plays naturally. It doesn't feel like tokenism. It doesn't feel like, look, guys, look at us. We're very forward, aren't we? It doesn't do any of that because it's very authentic.
Because lesbians were just human beings, you know what I mean? Like we do all the same stuff that straight couples do.
Are you sure about that?
We have the same fights.
Well, yes, and I consider him a friend. Chillmonger did a great show recently about token representation, and he sees it throughout, right? As a person of color, he's like, I'm tired of seeing them make and like all the controversy about the Little Mermaid, for example, right?
Yeah.
So it's a person of color. It's not a pasty white girl with red hair, right? So he said his problem is that it's token representation, not true representation. Like his issue isn't that she's a person of color; it's that she's only a person of color for this thing. They'll go right back to her being white again. They'll go right back to the classic Disney Little Mermaid again. He wants to see authentic people of color come in for authentic reasons and hold those positions. He also brought up Black Panther. In Black Panther 2,
why can't he be white?
Well, no, they made it a woman.
Yeah, I'm just joking.
And he says, you know that the Black Panther is going to go back to being a man. Like that, they've already set it up within the story.
Oh, I see.
Why turn the Black Panther into a woman for token representation and do it for authentic reasons? So that's exactly what they need to do. They need to develop authentic characters that are like real people that people can look up to and see themselves in, as well as like where they live, what they do. And like, I don't need to. I don't need to see fat white guys, right?
It's about the characters, how they're written.
Yes.
Apart from a few people who, might be bigoted, I think the vast majority of people wouldn't care about stuff like this if the stories are good.
Right.
Regardless of your politics, The Little Mermaid looks absolutely terrible. They've made the fish just a normal fish.
It looks like Drunk History, that Comedy Central TV show. And it's like a movie. I'm like, I don't know about that one.
And so let me kind of wrap up my thought with, this is one of the reasons Rey, I don't need to see fat white guys. I want to see people that have like morals that I can associate with, values I associate with, a kind of character attributes. And I can see in Rey a character that I can connect to, and that's why her character is so strong for me. And not everybody has the same kind of character I do, thankfully. I'm enough for me by myself, but when we bring characters and you don't do it in an authentic, meaningful way, it cheapens it. It makes the story less good. And you mentioned, Meg, that this This project has got you really excited from the Empire magazine.
It does.
Can you elaborate on that just a moment?
Absolutely. It sounds like Leslie Headland wants to incorporate what we know about the High Republic from the novels and the comics, but kind of make them George Lucasified. She wants to make them feel coherent with the build-up, the 100 years before the Phantom Menace. That is so exciting because to me that signals Yoda and some other big connections showing us their downfall eventually. And the golden age of the Jedi really wasn't. There was still a lot going on, the Nile and other things.
Yeah.
And it sounds like all of these characters have been very well thought through. No one's just thrown in there. Each of these Jedi has a purpose and a backstory and a role. Even Eunice Suotomo's Wookiee Jedi. And I started to see the overall picture of the Acolytes, and it made me think this could be potentially another Andor.
Yes, and I think so too. And I mentioned maybe the last time we were talking that fans should really be optimistic about Leslie's project because she's one of us. They keep talking about wanting to get people who truly understand Star Wars, people who truly understand Lucas and his vision for this universe. And Leslie Headland is that. Take away all the other things that people get sidetracked with. She is that. She is one of us. And we should be excited. And then let's judge the project on its own merits, not on some attribute about her that you don't like. Let's wait and see. And like I think the example you used with Andor, right? One of the actresses came and said like, well, it's representative of Trumpism and blah blah blah. Well, then that got a bunch of people thinking, I don't need to see Trump politics brought into Star Wars. We'll go back and watch Andor, and do you see Trump politics like in your face in that show? It would take some analysis to go find any and let the story tell itself. It's a brilliantly written show, and all of the hysteria that led into Andor is misplaced.
And I think you're giving Trump too much credit to say that he's as big as the Empire.
Wait.
Done.
Are you guys thinking what I'm thinking? Thronald Trump. Huh? Come on.
Right. He's orange, not blue. Wrong species.
My strategy is just grab him by it.
It would have been funny to have a Trump-like character.
Yeah.
But again, the Empire is too cunning and too... Do you know what I mean? He's not got that personality. They're too serious.
Palpatine is huge. He's huge.
So, for people that don't know, I am a Republican. I've never voted a Democrat ever here.
You're
in the
a Republican, not a Republican.
But anyhow, the guy is orange. He just is. So what are you going to do? All right. So we talked about the Acolyte. I'm excited for it. I'm excited for Ahsoka. There's another part of the article in Empire that they talk about Skeleton Crew. Meg, since you've got the
Yes.
Physical copy, you want to give us the TLDR on it?
The breaking news didn't come from this article. It came from a hockey match.
It did.
Steve Urkel actor Jaleel White confirms he's a pirate, just like Vane, and he was 2 hours every morning to get makeup on. And
yes.
I watched a few of his...
Don't call him the Urkel actor. Call him the Stefan actor, please.
The Stefan actor? I don't get the reference.
So Urkel would become a cool guy every couple of episodes, and he would become Stefan, and that's where like he played himself, and like women liked him and stuff. But then he would turn back into Urkel. Sorry.
Very good. No, Jaleel White. This raises a question for me, and I just want to ask this to you guys, because of
Yellow font. Why? I don't know.
No, because of Jack Black and Lizzo, and because of Jaleel White, and because of who's the other actor that we just learned is
Flea?
also.
Oh
yeah, no, it's in your article, Jason. Yeah.
Right? Scroobius Pip.
Scroobius Pip. Does Star Wars have a cameo problem, like casting actors in roles in Star Wars because of who they are, not because of the character? Do they have a problem?
It was a problem in Mando. Like Lizzo was a problem because she can't act, and so when it's somebody is too big at like Jack Black, he kind of took me out of it because I'm seeing Jack Black and not the character. So like the Mando one, no, but like in Obi-Wan Kenobi wasn't jazzed about, oh, it's Flea, this is so good, but also Flea can act, and it was like if Flea wasn't in the Red Hot Chili Peppers, Flea could have been the guy in that show. I'm okay like with that one. Jaleel White as a pirate under makeup, I don't think that matters. Just like I don't think it mattered when Daniel Craig was a stormtrooper in The Force Awakens. But at the same time, in a perfect world, I would rather not really see big actors that I know from other things in the roles, unless it's like the Alec Guinness, Obi-Wan Kenobi, Liam Neeson, Qui-Gon Jinn, venerable older actor with skill who elevates the project because we have a bunch of young bucks who can't act worth crap. Like if that's where we're at, fine. But like, yeah, I don't appreciate it. Like, you know, if Howie Mandel shows up next episode of something, I'll be like, what is this, man? What are you guys doing now?
But here's the thing, Jason.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think you're being very fair to Lizzo, because by prequel standards, her acting was fine. Like I'm not going to lie to you. Her acting didn't take me out of the show. It was more the fact that Jack Black was there, and they didn't go far enough, I think, with him to make it work. Because you've got to let Jack Black just be Jack Black and sing Peaches from the Mario film, and just be completely crazy.
That's how I feel about it too, Meg. Actually, like about that episode I was like, you guys think you guys are really Star Wars Unleashed. We're being really silly, but I was like, you could have went really far with this. Like I'm talking like the gags you could have done with Grogu and royalty and him liking being with those people and being pampered. Like they should have went all out. They should have went like straight Gremlins 2 with it. You know what I mean? And that, like, in my opinion, because once you cross a line, you got to like completely lean into it. But also, Meg, you know what's kind of weird is I love the prequels. I've loved them since they came out. But the only thing that has ruined the prequels, that have changed, not ruined them, but that has hurt them for me, is the fact that when there were only 6 Star Wars movies, the inconsistency in the acting from the first 3 to the next 3 was not so big. And then now that we have all of these other Star Wars movies, and like Rogue One and Andor, when I watch the prequels, now the acting bothers me because the majority of the acting in Star Wars is rather at a high level now, and has been. Yeah. And so now something that didn't stick out to me sticks out. Like that is maybe like my adverse effect to the Disney era, is that something I actually thought was pretty much like it didn't matter. Now I'm like, come on, Hayden, what are you doing? We know how these beats play, bud. You know,
George just isn't known for bringing out the best performances in any actor. Right?
No,
faster, more intense. That's it.
Well, like he really bought into this idea, like to the catchphrase of, I just cast people that were like the role, like that. That's what he said, but that's not what they originally did. And then it kind of went that way, and then that became a soundbite, and then he believed the soundbite. Like, I'm just gonna cast. He believed his own BS basically, whereas they saw like thousands of people for those roles. It wasn't, you know, with what's his name, whether they were doing Carrie, and there's just like they saw so many. So this idea that I just did that and that's all it was.
Well, you know, Jason, dumb. At least there's poetry there, because in episode 1, Anakin asks Padme, "Are you an angel?" And by episode 3, she was.
No, that's called foreshadowing. That's actually good writing by him, surprisingly. That's actually like, he's actually not. You're joking, but that's what it totally is. Like it's kind of dark.
Yeah, when she died, she becomes an angel, right? Yeah.
Yeah. He's like, to the moons of Diego, Padme. What he said when she.
I do think there's something to be discussed around that, right? We've had Christopher Lloyd and Jack Black and Lizzo and Jaleel White, and the list is building, right? All of these people who come in for cameo roles, and not all of them can act at the same level.
3 in 1 episode. That's egregious. You shouldn't do that.
Maybe.
Spread it around.
It worked with Danny Trejo in Book of Boba.
Danny Trejo was great.
But like Danny Trejo, like I don't feel like that was a cameo. I feel like Danny Trejo would get the role.
I would like more Danny
Trejo,
to tell you the truth.
Yeah, he's perfect for Star Wars.
He is. He's absolutely perfect for Star Wars.
Well, for us here in the UK, Jude Law appearing in Star Wars is a huge A-lister.
Thank you. Right back to Skeleton Crew. Fantastic. Good job, Meg.
And that fits my. He's of the Liam Neeson age now. We got a bunch of kids that probably were 3 names. They're not 3 names. They all probably can't act. And he's going to elevate the project and make it palatable for us big peoples.
So there's been a lot of talk about Skeleton Crew and how it is with kids, but not necessarily for kids. But there's also some stories in that it may be a little more cheesy than other Star Wars projects that we've seen. And the term keeps being used.
Campy.
Yeah, campy, cheesy, campy. Go back to the Amblin stuff, right? That's the term that keeps being used over and over again. And if you go back to, say, E.T., right? E.T. Is a little bit dark in some places. It can be a little bit scary for kids, especially when you got like government troops coming down and like.
Well, even beyond that, like in the Amblin like tones, life is real to the kids. Like life isn't like Disney, where it's just like, oh, I just wish I could wish upon a star, and then like like in the Goonies, their parents can't afford to keep their house.
Right.
They're all losing their house. They're all very, very sad that their world is coming to an end if something doesn't change. And E.T., the father, has gone off with the hot secretary and left the mom and the kids alone. And they're like here with this mom who's just like a flustered mess. And like reality isn't good. They actually have real problems. And the world that they contend with is painful and difficult and hard to understand. And it's not just like, I'm a dumb kid, I don't know what's going on. Like they know what their problems are in the Amblin stories. It's not condescending, like that Jedi cartoon that just came out. I saw it on a bus last night, by the way, that cartoon on a bus.
I think the Skeleton Crew trailer shown at Celebration gave me a lot of hope that this is going to be really good.
Same.
I think it's going to be great. And I love that it ties into the universe as a whole. Like this isn't a standalone project off on its own and that doesn't tie into anything. It actually ties into the overall story and it has some relevance to the Mandoverse as a whole. So we can watch it and see the universe built, right?
But we have no expectation, so that's why it's going to be so good. Because if they give us anything decent, I think fans are going to be very happy. At the moment, there's zero hype for it, and I think it's because only people online and who went to Celebration know about it.
What?
There's been no like Disney Plus advertising just yet.
Yeah.
Me and Bespin did a show like yesterday, and we've been talking about that trailer for like a little while and breaking it down. And he noticed that the kids appear to be orphans. They appear to be living in an orphanage because there are only 2 parents. And the dark-skinned guy and the white woman, and they're both together. They're both calling for the kids. They're both concerned about the kids. And there's a scene where they go into the rooms and they call for the kids in the rooms. So that seems to imply that they are all potentially like maybe orphans of the Galactic Civil War or something like that, and they are all together in this same spot.
That's cool.
There's a neat part in here as you were reading through it yesterday. I was joking because the way that it's worded, I was trying to make fun of Bespin for his writing, and you just completely missed it. So I was like, I give up. But there's there's a part in I was working too, so it's like I was busy. But
roast them every chance you get. You got to roast them. What are you doing, man? Text me. You got my number.
You know what it is? It's about the titular character.
Mm-hmm.
Right? He didn't even use titular in the article once. I don't know what
skeleton is the skeleton on the ship the titular character.
Right. So there's this. Where's the statement here? Play a role. Let's see. Season 3 will play a role in Skeleton Crew. Skeleton Crew. That's not it. Hold on. There's a line in here where there's a skeleton on the ship. Right.
Yeah.
There it is. So it says, as the trailer races towards its end, we see the pirates opening fire. They're opening, so they're shooting. They're not like starting a campfire, right? So they're opening fire. The children playing with a friendly droid, a skeleton on a ship. So they're playing with a friendly droid and a skeleton. No, that's this. That's the joke I was trying to make.
These kids are dark. These kids are.
What kind of toys do you have to, maybe you have to play with a skeleton like Mr. Bones? I don't know. But anyway.
I have a theory that skeleton on the ship is that the ship that they take for the adventure has a dead body on it. Like a man died on it.
Right.
And they kind of take this dead guy's ship.
So this goes back to the Amblin stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
Where we talk about like some of them are serious themes. Like this could have been somebody they knew, right? This very well could have been.
Want to see a dead body?
Like that was Larry. We knew Larry, and now it's just bones. But and it's in the corner, maybe, or as you suggested, perhaps they just know the ship is there. The guy who owned it is dead, and so we can go take it, right? Like that could be the case as well. But in either
Ochi's
way,
brother, Nick. Ochi's brother.
That person is Ochi. No, it could be. It's that dark side of things. Like even in Goonies, like they ran into skeletons of dead people. Right?
They find a dead body in the freezer.
Yes, exactly. That's what I was thinking of. And so here you get that sort of Amblin-esque bit of it, right? There's a skeleton on the ship, like a real skeleton, not like a prank joke kind of,
Yeah, and as like a kid who like watched those movies when they came out, like that made the danger that the kids were in. Like the kids are never really in that much danger when you get down to it, but like the dead bodies, it's like, oh, people do die.
Yeah.
And just putting that into that like story, it does make it feel like, oh, there's consequences to actions in the story. So
the other really exciting thing about Skeleton Crew is, and again at the hockey match, right? Jaleel White said it's coming out in November or December.
Mm-hmm.
So
Christmas.
Exactly.
I think Malik is right, by the way, about they're going to throw in like a massive cameo.
Well, so there's two that we can know of, right? Jaleel White, one, but he's going to be under a lot of makeup. The other is the pirate that we saw in Mandalorian season 3, right? He's going to
Vane.
be right, Vane.
A Bespin Bulletin.com exclusive.
But I
think he'll be Hondo.
Hondo would be amazing.
Well, I broke that there were pirates in there and all of the various masks that they had made, and I'd seen some pictures of the contents, and there's a Weequay who looks like it could be, and it had like the eyes etched out for goggles to rest into the mask, but the only difference is the ones at the goggles at Galaxy's Edge for the live action version of Hondo that they made for the Falcon ride don't really fit the shape. That was the only thing that made me go, like, is it Hondo? Maybe it is, but I couldn't make the connection. But Hondo needs to come into live action, and like that would be like a good place to put him because he's so over the top, but in that world, like children being like, what is this dude about is a good.
He would. So you lead into a topic I wanted to add today, just for fun. And there's other things in this Empire magazine folks have talked about, but I have a fun topic I just wanted to bring up, and it's what side character or lead character from a game novel, whatever, who has not been a lead in a Star Wars movie or show, would you like to see brought into its own show? So, for example, Hondo Anaka, right? Hondo is a side character that we saw through the Clone Wars and Rebels. He's in Disney parks. Hondo coming in as a lead in a show. So not just as a cameo or a side character in Skeleton Crew. So Hondo would be an example. Kira, we talked about maybe seeing something from Crimson Dawn, from a solo, and perhaps since that movie project was canceled, they would take it and put it into a series. So Kira, or the other one a lot of people bring up is Dr. Aphra. Dr. Aphra, she's very popular in the comic books. Some better than others, as I understand. But
come on, Aphra. Cube, you stole my.
So Quinlan Voss.
Is that what that's meant to say? I thought it
yeah, but that's what I was going to say, but spelled right.
So what would be the character that you would like to see brought in and given their own show?
Well, for one thing, you're never, ever, ever going to see Kira again. I was just reading an Emily, what's her name? Emilia Clarke article where she talks about the problem with Marvel. And she's saying how it becomes oversaturated and you have to have seen 5 of them to understand the next one. And she says she doesn't want to work with franchises that do that. So to me, that's even more confirmation she's not going to do Star Wars again.
Okay.
But to answer your question, I love the idea of Omega at some stage having her own show.
I very much would love to see Omega brought into live action as a lead in a show. I think that could be great. Jason, have you had any time to think on it?
No, I was serious. I was gonna say Quinlan Voss would be really good because with that character, you can connect him to the characters in Jedi Survivor, and you could bring them into live action, and then you and like non-huge ways, but in ways that come into the show that would please people from the path. And then you could also connect it to characters from Kenobi for the path and bring back some of the characters who worked from that show, but also get it on to this Underground Railroad sort of story, because the whole thing of like identifying, hiding them, getting them through and then to safety and that kind of stuff like that is inherently like a good story, you know, and you could draw from history between World War II and the American Underground Railroad during the Slave South and stuff like. So there's like a lot to pull from, and I think it'd be a good show. I think he's a good character. He has a good backstory that he used to be in intelligence, and then which would also make it where you could do other stories where he is against the ISB, because he was essentially Republic ISB before it goes horrible when you get down to it. So it's a character that you could develop into something really special, and you know, also give him a little bit of the dude still though that they give him in Clone Wars, where because I mean, you know, where like that's sort of his natural thing, but he can step up. So it could be a fun character, and I'm surprised they haven't touched on him yet, to be honest.
Yeah, cooking with Dex, I'm for it.
What about you, Santa?
Dex's Diner. I think Dr. Aphra. You've got your Indiana Jones, like relic hunter, engaged with kind of skirting around Darth Vader, and she has his run-ins with him and things like that as well. But Dr. Aphra, in this galaxy where she could be going after different kind of artifacts and all of that, could be a great series, just because it's a different genre. We talk about bringing different genres into Star Wars, like your crime, a serial crime drama kind of thing. Yeah, I could definitely see a Dr. Aphra series. Could be really good.
Yeah, that seems like something that would be really smart for Lucasfilm to pick up when they get sort of like when they give Indiana Jones a rest. Like after we get past this movie, and then because I can see them not wanting to have like two archaeology, like the same archetypes and two of things that they do at the same time. Yeah. But like I think Indiana Jones is going to come out and then it'll probably be rested for quite a while, I would think.
Yeah.
And like so I think like in the next like couple of years, that's something that they should definitely pick up, especially because like the Marvel comic stuff, it's like they could make it feel like it matters more.
Yeah.
Like you can feel like when you buy a comic book, this might be a show. I suppose, and right now we don't really have that with the last 8 years of Marvel comics. I don't really feel like that's a thing overall with them.
There are other characters from EU like Darth Malak. Darth Malak is a series going back into pulling some EU content in, or Darth Revan, Darth Bane, right? All of those could be series that I think a lot of fans would enjoy. Cal Kestis. A lot of people keep talking about Cal Kestis coming in. I just don't see any of those being shows that realistically have any chance, right?
I think Cal showing up in something in one of the shows has a good chance because of we talked about before, the exposure of the character is insane. Like he's probably around 40 million people now know who Cal Kestis is.
Yeah.
So Cal showing up in one of the shows in a meaningful way would be a big thing for the show, and it would actually it would make a lot of news and news in gaming circles where Star Wars doesn't always necessarily get into, but you can't really do that until the third game comes out and his story and gaming is done, because what if he dies? What if they want to kill him in the narrative, or what if he becomes something completely different? What if he ends up leaving the galaxy and going where Thrawn is? I'm just making, whatever happens.
What if he gets cut in half and falls down a great big shaft?
Yeah, or he gets robot legs like Darth Maul. Like anything can happen, right?
Right.
He's not the only character who would take a big shaft. But
No.
I can think of another really good character for a show.
Yeah.
You guys know I'm big on horror, and I like the idea of Star Wars horror. Well, if you want the most immoral character in the entire galaxy, it's got to be Darth Nihilus.
Oh. Mm-hmm.
Just the worst excuse for a person ever.
Darth Nihilus. That would definitely fall into the horror genre, right? Sucking souls out of people and stuff. Right?
Yeah, exactly.
How about Bix's bathing suit challenge, where Bix just has to find the right bathing suit in space?
I think that's a Jason show.
Yeah. Come on, it's a little bit of a Meg
it's
show
a Meg show too.
Come on,
let's be real.
Yeah.
If you had said Clea, then I would have agreed.
All right.
Don't even try, Meg. We're on to you. We're on.
Me and Bix have the same hairstyle.
Oh yeah.
Written by Tony Gilroy.
A couple of things just to kind of wrap up the show. We're on the writer strike, day 11, right? So we're coming closer and closer to the Directors Guild of America joining in that labor dispute, right?
Right.
Contract negotiations. The question came up, I saw in your stream yesterday, that there are questions. So, for example, Skeleton Crew's scheduled for November. Could the writer strike or Directors Guild joining in the negotiations affect those shows? Can they do post-production? Are they able to do editing and things like that to shows while these strikes are going on? The short answer is yeah, they can, and no, it won't.
They just can't do it. The like editing, a writer or a director, if the Directors Guild goes on strike, they cannot contribute to the editing. They can't tell the editor what to do. They can't make suggestions. They can't. But an editor I'm just an editor Meg can just take Santa director writer stuff and then just edit it and put it together, and then they can put it out. So it doesn't have
post-production stuff, right? Replacing, putting CGI and stuff like that in, right?
But with Star Wars though, usually, unless there's a problem that arises after filming or when they start to look at that and they're like, you know what, this doesn't work. They usually know what the agenda is. They usually know what the goal is. Star Wars is pre-vised out very heavily. it's usually inserting the missing pieces into the puzzle, like the tent pieces, taking out the tent piece and putting the real piece in. And but the actual answer is nobody could know, because we don't know if they hit any snags after filming, after production. We don't know in post production. They're like, this doesn't work. This performance, this line is shouldn't have been there. Oops. That kind of thing. Like we can't know if they have that kind of stuff, but I would imagine those shows are fine because they filmed so long ago and they all saw this coming. This wasn't a surprise. The strikes, like they literally planned all of live action Star Wars television around these strikes. I even kind of think that they stressed the crew out and filmed extra, did the extra series at this point to beat it.
So as far as looking at 2023 projects, Ahsoka and Skeleton Crew, no real risk of those getting put on pause until these negotiations get completed.
I wouldn't see why. I don't think there would be.
Yeah.
I mean, anything could happen, right? I mean, anything there. If there was some weird problem we can't know about, but realistically, they've been filmed for a very long time. I know episodes of Skeleton Crew have been done for a while. So there's completed episodes of Skeleton Crew right now. So I don't see that as being very likely.
2024 projects at risk of being paused or delayed. I think probably all of them. Is there any 2024? Assuming Skeleton Crew's a 2023, right?
By this August, we were supposed to probably be done with all of Andor and Acolyte. Like everything should have been wrapped by this August. But the directors go on strike May, June, so sometime in July, I guess it would be.
Yeah.
Like early July is when they would go on strike. And I don't see how they don't go on strike. And I hope I'm wrong. But I had, like, people have been, like, Rob brought up an article where the last director strike was 5 minutes. Directors went on strike, and it just Hollywood was like, okay, and then they went. But in reality, they didn't really get what they all that they wanted. Wasn't that big of a deal. And then this one right here, this is just big stubborn money. And I kind of think the studios want to break the guilds. I think they want the guilds to like die. I think that if they were to win this fight, there would be massive profits for them for the rest of those CEOs' lives. I think they have every single reason to let this go on for a year because they can weather it easily. They can make it happen. They own a backlog of scripts and stuff like that, and they could buy from from other markets and stuff. So I hope I'm wrong though. I hope I'm
TLDR
wrong.
For you, Darth Malik, is the writers want some guarantees of
they want
work,
this
right?
They
come onto a project, they want to know that they're going to get a certain number of hours to build. They're going to get a certain number of co-writers. They're going to get a certain amount of work with any project. It has kind of baked in, because some of them now are being brought on like as temps, more or less, and so they write a little bit and then they're let go, and then they're really living on shoestring budgets. They have like nothing. So
because they're not getting the residuals that the writers were paid were negotiated for terrestrial classic television. And then now with streaming, they're not getting it. And Seth Rogen came out yesterday and said, they control what the ratings, how we understand the ratings. He said, basically, I don't even know if I'm even being paid what I'm actually supposed to be paid as a writer on my shows. He doesn't even know.
Well,
because
I saw
1,000 minutes. I got a bajillion minutes. Like, what does that even mean? How does that translate to money? But they're not being paid. Also, there's small writers' rooms. There's writers that get stuck in revision hell, where they're paid this one lump sum and then they just have to keep revising. And it's like, oh, now that I've done this amount of work over the year, I've made about, I was paid $20,000. So I made $20,000 this year. Like that,
Right.
that's something like that's a bad example, but it's like that.
No, and I was listening to a show, and I don't know if I was listening to you or somebody else.
Yeah.
That was talking about one of the writers that just won like an Emmy. Literally didn't have enough money to pay their rent. Like they're living on nothing, and it's not like they're living in a palatial mansion and they can't afford their rent. They're living very, everyday lives.
Yeah.
That you or I or anybody else might, or even below. Like they're just barely making it through day to day. They won an Emmy for Pete's sake, and they can still just barely survive. So they're looking to make a little bit more, get some more guarantees of, as you say, like if I come in to a writer's room and it's just me, am I going to be stuck making $20,000 this year? Some made up number, say $60,000 the entire year, and I'm going to have to work 70-hour weeks.
Which in Hollywood, you can't even live on $60,000 a year.
Yeah, or New York. Try to do that in New York City.
Yeah.
Good luck. So there's that kind of situation. The other is like they're brought in piecemeal, so they're like get this big project, and they end up only working like 10 hours. But yet they've reserved time because they're going to work on this project, but then they aren't given any work, so then they don't make any money. So they're looking for some basic guarantees, that kind of thing.
And as was mentioned by KG, AI is something that they want to have ironed out now. And the studios are saying, oh, we'll come back to it. But that's what happened with the internet. And that's why we are where we are today, or why they are where they are. And they understand that. So they're not going to budge on I don't see them budging on the AI thing right now. And Iger comes out this week. I'm really bullish on AI for everything. And he's acting like he's just saying this like in a vacuum. Just happened to be saying it. That's all. And he's like, it's good for the consumer. AI is great for the consumer. It's what he's selling that. And I'm like, what a jerk.
I mean, some of it is, but anyway.
No, I mean, no, you're not. I mean, you're not wrong. But why that? Why now?
Right.
Have you ever heard? If you go look up Bob Iger talking about AI and put it in context, and you're like, oh, you think you're so smart, Bob Iger. You may make $1 bajillion. Ooh, Iger, you won't silence me. Tired of Disney and their crap.
You just went on just a little too much. The Disney overlords are like, oh, we got to shut this guy up.
Well, I will say that Iger is pretty damn charming, though. He is pretty charming. I'll give it
all right. Well, there were a couple other stories we could have gotten into today, but I've had a lot of fun talking to you guys. We've had a great show. Had a lot of fun. Any other stories you're hoping to cover today? I had on here about the movies and where we might go with those, and some of the directors that Lucasfilm has in-house, and perhaps getting movies. We could have talked about movies, but we didn't make it there at all. But anything that's burning that you just would love to get to say before we do our Mike Porter dad joke.
Does this look contagious? Because this is burning. No? Okay. No, I think the movie stuff and all that, we're going to be talking about that for the next 2 years either way.
Yeah, we've got time.
So we got time.
All right. So what did Palpatine say when he didn't want to be bothered? Sheave me alone.
Nah.
I like that one.
Yeah. That's a classic, Porter.
I love it.
Leave me alone.
All right. Well, you guys have a wonderful weekend, and thanks for hanging out with me.
Enjoy the wedding.
Thank you.
Yes.
Enjoy some family time. That'd be great. So thank you, and good luck. Is it Chelsea?
Chelsea, yes.
Go Chelsea. Yay.
We say come on you Blues over here because they wear blue. Can I answer one question quickly?
Oh, please.
Because Darth Malik's been asking this the entire stream. He said, which is better, the Sith code or the Jedi code?
Oh, yeah.
I've got to say the Sith code.
I think they're both a bunch of nonsense when I read them.
We got to pick.
There is only the Force. Well, really though, because that sounds like a nihilistic expression to me. I don't think the codes actually are very good. I would rewrite them all.
Well, that's what I said the other day. Is I think the Sith code is is the better of the two, but both of them are fraught with error. So they both need work. But
philosophically they got problems.
Yeah. But the Sith one's probably better of the two. It's still messed up though. So there you go. There you go.
I live by my own code, dude.
The Jason code.
The J code. The chain
All
code.
right. Well, go Blues.
Thank you. And Jason, good luck with your appointment.
Thanks. It still burns.
See, he instantly knew what I was talking about. Jason's one of the only people I can do that with.
It's really good. Really good. You guys are great. Thank you for hanging out with me. Hey, I hope you all have a great weekend this weekend as well. Thanks for hanging out with us today and talk about Star Wars. I hope you all have a wonderful day, a tremendous weekend. And until next time, my friends, Merry Christmas.
Bye.
And may the
Bye,
Force
guys.
be with you always.